My mother taught me to speak Spanglish because she wanted me to know her native tongue and also to be able to communicate with my relatives. When I was 4, I remember sitting in the kitchen table with my mom, hearing her say, "¿Cómo se dice esto?" which means, "How do you say this?" in Spanish. She would point to a water and I would say agua, and she would point to an apple and I would say manzana, which I ate all the time. Learning 2 languages was fun, but it was also a challenge for me. Even though I wanted to honor my mother's desires, learning 2 languages simultaneously eventually set me back in my English studies. My first school from pre-K to 1st grade was bilingual, and most of the students who attended were minorities. It wasn't until the start of my high school career when I decided to take French, which only made me realize how much I still needed to learn the language I thought I once knew. It was then when I decided to speak Spanish in a more professional manner in my home and through conversations. Eventually, I was able to speak Spanish and English fluently, which led to the discovery of both Spanish and English, Spanglish. Spanglish is a unique language. It represents the completeness of both languages. The point of transition is smooth, and it flows from a combination to a continuation of the first language. So I have some exercises for you. I need your help for this. Are you guys ready? Yes. Repeat after me. María está revisando sus respuestas. Oh, that was good. Now in English, María is checking her answers. And now in Spanglish, María está chequeando her answers. Congratulations, not only did you just speak Spanglish, but you also use a form called code switching. So what is code switching? I have personally learned to alternate from Spanish to English in a split second. But in order to code switch, you must have the ability to speak in both languages. So first, when code switching, you usually speak not of cause and effect, but more in a realistic pattern within a conversation. Second, people usually code switch spontaneously within a speech or in a sentence. And lastly, code switches are more frequent for clarification and emphasis. Spanglish is not only a linguistic originality, but it's also considered a multiplex language that helps people communicate who are struggling in learning both languages. Spanglish for me has been a strong representation of both my American and Latino community because I have noticed that when speaking with other Latinos, we restore both our pride in ourselves and in our language. It also reflects our identity with art, language, music, and traditions. Chicano, Chicana. Raise your hand if you know what those words mean. Chicano is a native-born American of Mexican descent. I am a Chicana. In the 1960s, many Mexicans were afraid of losing their cultural independence. So they formed a movement called the Chicano movement in order to protect the civil rights of Latinos. This movement was also notable for Mexican Americans because it initiated the famous term Chicano. The first national conference in Denver, a city midwest of the United States, Chicano activists stated, "We conclude that social, economic, cultural, and political independence is the only road to total liberation from oppression, exploitation, and racism." Chicanos were able to form an innovative language called Spanglish to set themselves apart in both mixture of their heritage. Is Spanglish considered a language? Will it become a language? Many young Latinos in the United States speak the form of Spanglish. The Pew Research Survey found that 53% speak Spanglish some of the time, and 26% speak Spanglish most of the time. Since Latinos are the fastest growing population in the United States, Spanglish will become more and more current around the country. It would also be fascinating to see how many Latinos will continue to grow and speak the form of language throughout the years. So my personal challenge to all of you is to recognize that Spanglish is a beautiful and unique blend of two languages. As languages are continually growing and changing every day, my hope is that you see how Spanglish has closed the gap and formed a synergistic approach for communication. Thank you.